Hello, welcome back to another How To Classic Survival in Space Engineers 2. Alright, so we've done it a few times already. We've done a drop pod into a ship, drop pod into a rover. And guess what? We're gonna do how to start with a drop pod base. Alright, so I got an interesting way of doing this, and let's gonna see if it's gonna work or not. But obviously, we're gonna do the first thing, and that's gonna change my tool settings. And once again, that is weld, grind, and drill. 1, 2, and 3 toolbars. But what I really mean is to get rid of the seats, handlebars, or handrails, and also this light. And if we really want, we get rid of the door. But I think we're gonna leave it for now. But more importantly, the rest of it can kind of stay or go. I'm gonna say stay for now, and what I'm gonna do is actually do Control B and blueprint it, because why not? So now we can edit it as much as possible, and what we're gonna do is paste it along the side. All right, so of course we're gonna add in the survival kit just in case we need to recharge if we run out of power. We're already at 91%, so that could be alarming. All right, we are good to go. So we have a good bit of charge. Now, of course, in terms of a start, we're gonna need some materials. Iron, nickel, silicon, all those stuff. But we're turning this drop pod into the base, which we're gonna just leave it right over here, which might be a good idea or a bad idea because it's such a slanty bitty thingy here. But I see iron, and we can get unknown signal for materials as well. I don't know if I want to drill through here, so what we can do is actually kind of get materials from the unknown signal using some boost power. But yeah, we are at an unknown signal, and this is where we can get some materials instead of doing what we used to do, and that is drilling. So we could get some big old things here, steel plates and such. We might get a little bit too much in terms of materials this way. Steel plates we got to grind down, but let's just get the more important pieces that's in here. Get all the crates. Ooh, med kit, nice, good way to start. Like, got a wire, technically copper. What's in here? Some more goodies, and I think that's about it, right? Yeah, so this is another way of really getting materials, but drilling is probably your fastest way than kind of grinding all this down. There's a lot to grind down. So if you need steel plates, construction components, that's gotta be all grinded down. We'll try to get as much as we can, get up to 100%, and head back. Right, so yeah, scavenging is another option instead of drilling. So I basically grabbed all the little bitsy bits there, got the glass, the windows, left some of the antennas and everything like that because we're probably going to head back here anyways. And, you know, I forgot to do something. And that is mark our base. All right, we are back. We kind of depleted all our hydrogen, so that's a bit flawed in the plan here. But that's fine. We got 100% of inventory. This is our current score. We probably didn't need the metal grids and everything like that, but we could always store them. So what we can first start with is getting some storage, basically. So good little cargo container might be a good idea. We already have batteries on here, or a battery. So you have this little battery here, 1.5 M. It has, I think, was 30%, still 30% in terms of the power module. But of course, we need to get that charged up as well. So let's throw in the cargo container. So we could throw in the cargo container anywhere here. I'm thinking of putting it right over here just to make it a little bit more easier to grab stuff later down the line. Got the small port in the back. I don't know about how I want to do that for now, but let's just say big port on the side for now. We could throw in the big old materials like the metal grids or any heavy stuff that we might have. Doesn't look like we have too much heavy stuff, so that is fine. Now we got to focus on power. So there's two options for power currently, which is great. Go to your G menu, literally press G key, and go to energy. So right now we got reactors, solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries. We could technically just keep building batteries with 30% power modules, which is kind of decent and stupid at the same time. A little weird that that could happen because they do come charged 30%. So it's kind of called stone power back then. But you could always do like wind turbines. Look, that's a lot of materials for a wind turbine though. And then you could do some solar panels, which takes a bit of glass. So a little bit of silicon, a little bit of iron, maybe nickel, whatever the case may be. But the 3 of these are all backpack enabled or requires backpack. The reactor needs an assembly and smelter. So that needs to wait. So initially, we could just go with solar panels or wind turbines. Wind turbines are probably more effective, especially if it is during the night. So we also got that to kind of consider. But for now, I'm just going to plop on a few solar panels if I'm able to. Looks like we're missing some silicon. So we didn't have too much. So that should help us charge a little bit. Obviously not by much. So if you're looking at the control panels on our battery, you'll see that it is charging. Fully charged in 2 hours with 1 solar panel with a bit of sun right there. Not a lot of sun. Probably should put a rotor hinge system on there to kind of get it directed. But we could do that a little bit later down the line. Right now, we just want to get things basically started. So here is a wind turbine. Ginormous little thing. Huge thing. 7.5 meter thing. That's probably why it costs as much as it costs. 96 steel plates, 16 motors, construction components, 32, and 16 electronic parts. So we could almost make this in a way. We would probably need a little bit of materials, like a motor or so, which we could probably find as a resource, unfortunately. I don't think we have much to go by there. But, yeah. Throw in some structural blocks really quick. This may not be the optimum height for this, but we're gonna plop it on here. Let's check on how it's operating on the battery levels. It is now. It's speeding a little bit, but it's still about an hour or so. And again, it's because the turbine's probably not high enough. We're at only 30% efficiency, so it definitely needs to go a lot higher if that's the case. Clearance is 100%, 0 out of 8 directions blocked. So it should pick up, but I guess the weather conditions, it's quite low right now. But if we go higher, will it be more efficient? I would think so, but I don't know so. So let's go and check that out. So what we're going to do is just basically get rid of this thing. And of course, some building tips. We can always drag, click, drag, and drop like this to do a higher plane. Or you can hold shift and you could do a whole full sides of blocks like that. I think 8 was the ideal number, potentially. Okay. So that is seemingly spinning a little bit faster. So we're looking at the power efficiency. Ooh, we're going up. It reduced in terms of the time frame, so that is good. So our wind turbine is now at 80% efficient. Nice. Nothing blocked. We got weather condition 80%, base 80%, wind, blah, blah, blah. So it's ground height at 100%. So that's what we needed to focus on. So I may have it a little too high, but it's spinning. It is doing what it needs to do, and it's giving us the power that we need. So now we can survive here, live here, thrive here, and keep charging up at our survival kit with no issues. Okay, so that's all done. Now it's about building the base out, right? So there's many ways to do it, some funky ways to do it as well, and we blueprinted before. So what we're going to do is grab the build right here. We're going to grab that drop pod that we slightly edited. We're going to place the grid. And what I was going to plan to do is kind of put it here. So we have different habitat rooms. Obviously, some of these is going to have to get built a little bit higher and everything like that. But if I could place it right on that cargo container, that would be awesome. I don't think I can because it's going to be low to the ground. It kind of looks like it might work. Nope. It's too low to the ground, and I don't know if it's in the middle. It's the funky part. Where's the door? The door is right there. So we could do it this way, where the door is facing us. And it might be because the ground. that we're not able to build it correctly. So if we're gonna leave it here, we probably do have to edit a little bit of the ground, just ever so slightly. If we wanted to do it the right way round, the lowest part would be right there. I can stick it right there. Stick it out. There we go. And we get a little bit of a base on the floor. So hopefully with that done, we can throw this on the floor and connect everything. Since it looks like we can, I think the maximum backing up is right there. So that connects to that. So if that's the case, let me Control Z to undo. Yes, this Control Z to undo and Control Y to redo. So we'll just get rid of that. And let me get rid of this one because we don't need it to extend that far. Wasn't necessarily the plan initially. Yeah, that fixes the issue of having connected like that. There we go. Perfect. So that's where we could weld everything up and it should fit fine if I put it in correctly. That does not look like I've put it on correctly. We got it on correctly and it has the touching pieces right there. So now we just gotta weld everything together, which we don't necessarily have enough materials to weld all that up. But for now, we are still gonna continue to hand drill for a little bit until we get a rover set up or even a ship to do some digging. So that's the hard part in the beginning, but should be fine. Let's get the flooring up first. All right, so you might not want to build and weld everything up right away because that's going to take forever in the beginning with the hand welder and everything like that. You might want to invest in an area welder later down the line, which is this bad boy here, which is going to cost us a lot of materials for, I believe. But how do we get that? Well, we need production. We need to start thinking about a gear forge. Why? So that way we can upgrade our tools. But of course, it looks like we need a smelter first. So obviously, we're gonna have to build this bad boy. It's a little bit of a big old thing, which we could connect it right into this thing here. So we probably need a bit of adapters on there, unfortunately. But we're gonna go with the logistics piece and go with some conveyors. We could go with the boxes, like the conveyor junctions and sort. Even put it in cargo container. It doesn't really matter, but we need the bigger ones. It's stretched out a little bit, so I'm thinking we could use the conveyor slices, which is this harmonica looking one. So we could throw in a few just to stretch out just long enough so we could fit this smelter, which I think we could do right there. That's probably just as big as a conveyor junction, but sure. Let's just throw in the smelter. Where is this smelter? And plop there. We'll get the harmonica pieces all, or slices, we should say, all welded up. All right, we got a smelter going, so that way we can get some materials for the gear forge. So the gear forge itself is this thing here, and it does have the port in the back, so we can connect it either right here or we kind of go on this side right over here, which again we're probably gonna have to use those slices. All right, so if you couldn't find metal grids like I did from the unknown signal, you're probably gonna have to make it for that gear forge. So to make it, we go to the smelter, go into production, and you'll see here metal grids. So I think you needed just 2 and just produce it, and it does require cobalt, 15 kilograms worth, which I do have. But I found it from the unknown signal, and that's why it's more efficient to travel to these unknown signals and grab everything that you can out of it. Ideally, have a ship or a rover. But we're doing everything by hand and feet and jetpack for the time being. So our gear forge, what do we got? We wanted the area welder, which that's probably going to be very, very far end because you need a platinum electrode. Can we make that? Absolutely not right now. So we're going to only speed up production by doing our welder Mark II up to Mark IV, if anything. So now, Mark II requires lead and wire. So lead and wire are fairly easy to get because you can find in the wild copper and lead. is one thing that you need to make and produce that. But we're talking about Mark 3, we need a magnesium bar and combustion chamber, which I think we need a assembler, I believe it was. I don't know for sure, but looks like once we get to Mark 3, we get a platinum electroid and go from there. But also, you have to give up your previous Mark 1, Mark 2, and things like that in order to get it updated or upgraded. So let's go with the Mark 2. We need lead bar and wire, which I think we found wire, which is perfect. Lead bar we did not find, but a lead bar can be produced by lead. You can get to your other production items by easily going to production here. Right now we're on the gearforge. You can always drop down to smelter or use the arrow keys here or buttons. So let's go to the smelter. We want lead a bar. So we need 2 lead bars, and that produces from 50 kilograms of lead, which we just did. And of course, if we want the wires, we collect copper, which I found copper and lead and gold and magnesium all out in the wild somewhere by feet, jetpack, and hand drilling. So there's that. Now throw in the wires. We got to throw in the lead bar if we can. Should be all connected. And our Mark 1. And that's how we're going to upgrade to Mark 2 welder. And there we go. So Mark 3 is going to be the magnesium combustion chamber, which I don't think we can make. So that requires a bit of an upgrade later down the production line. But for the time being, if we really wanted to, we could probably upgrade our Mark II grinder right here and maybe even a drill. I really don't want a hand drill, but if we have to go that way, we have to go that way. So it looks like we need to create a little bit more lead bars. So we needed 2 each. So let's just say 4 in this case. I think we have everything else. So if we switch to gearforge again, go Mark II grinder. Oh no, we need turbines. That's fine. Mark II drill. Looks like we need 2 more lead bars, 1 drill, 1 grinder in here, and some turbine blades. It looks like we got the turbine blades, so we should be good. I think it's more or less me giving up my drill and grinder to get that produced, and that's what it looks like. All right, so don't forget to swap out. Go to your G menu, character gear right over here. Get your Mark II welder, grinder, and drill. Now we can get things done a little bit faster. Not too fast, but a decent amount. Does it say exactly how much it is? Does not say the percentage, which is fine. But now we could definitely weld up everything here fairly quickly. It's not like super speed, but it's faster than what it was before. And again, ideally do not do this to start, because you're going to take so much time just welding everything up and get frustrated and annoyed. So maybe just build out the floor so you can step on it and walk around. If anything, do a little bit of decorations like I did here. I did add a bit of a window here, window flat half, just because I wanted it for whatever reasons. And we could continue on to do some more things like production, which we could cover later down the line if anything. But the next step is it's going to be an assembler, because you need the smelter, as you see here. And then you may need to get a refinery after the assembler. And from there, you get a fabricator, because you need both. And don't forget also an O2 H2 generator if you can get some ice, which we have none around this dark, forsaken dune. But yeah, that's how you get a quick little space pod base station up and running. You do not need this half of it at all. That was just for me to do a little bit of designing to extend out a little bit. But if we really wanted to make things equal, we probably should put a solar panel here. So we'll wait for the sun to come back up and get that powered up in terms of our batteries. All right, so from here, you probably should be building like a ship or a rover and things like that to get you moving, get some more collection things faster. If not, you're going to be ending up hand drilling for material as much as possible, build out a baseline of the ground or so, and kind of go from there. So another thing I wanted to do also is partial copy. So if you're not familiar with that, and if I wanted just this half of the base, we can do that. So grab from here. We're going to do hold control and P for partial copy, and you get this little blue box here. So click on the grid, and it turns yellow. So now you're gonna hold Control. You're gonna use WASD to move around, and Q and E. So you'll see things highlighted in white or gray. So we're already on the bottomest plane, so we don't have to worry about that. We want to go as far as that way. So we're gonna do D in this case for right, mouse wheel up to drag it all the way across this way. So hopefully that grabs as much as we can. You can be very, very precise here. We went too far. Go back it up. Hold Control. Now we're gonna go W for up and mouse wheel up to get all the way to the top. And then from there, hold Control. And since we're looking at it this way, we can do D for right and then just keep going all the way until we reach the other side of the drop pod, which is a little too much there, but right over there. So that is going to grab that cube-like piece right there for partial copy. And when we're ready, select it by left click. And as you see here, we got that little bit here. And we could capture the blueprint by holding Control and B. And that's just drop pod. I'm just saying top. So basically, instead of designing my own, I'm just ripping off of the drop pod itself to make myself a nice little base. That is basically the plan with this. So this could be the top here, or we could put it down over here to make it a little bit less kind of symmetrical piece there. I don't like that the battery's on there, but that's fine. So we could just throw it kind of like this right there. And we could connect everything in terms of that. And of course, we get rid of some stuff too. So like this battery we get rid of. We do need to put a flooring down for ourselves as well. So things like have armor blocks right here first. And then we throw in kind of like the catwalk piece there. I don't think I made this symmetrical, did I? I did not. Okay, we're gonna delete that. All right, so this is how we establish a base using the drop pod. And again, this is proof of concept. I'm not gonna weld up everything. Ideally, you wouldn't weld up everything until you get a little bit more of the gear and wait to collect resources quicker, because this can take quite some time. But proof of concept, you can steal the design from the drop pod to make it a nice little base, potentially even turn into a ship or a rover still. So you got a nice little entryway here, a little bit of a hab station. You got your survival kit. We could definitely move the survival kit elsewhere. You can have beds, you can have whatever you want, chairs and everything here. But of course, you could expand it out a little bit more. You could partial copy, make it a little fatter on the side as well. But once again, just a proof of concept that it can be done using the space pod, and it actually looked pretty decent. It looks like a shoe, but is that. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to drop a comment down below. And of course, I'll see you guys next time, where we're going to build some ships and rovers from scratch.